Oh, good. I think we have quorums for both counties. Yeah, that's great. Okay, I suppose it's just about 5 minutes past 3 o'clock. So maybe we should go ahead and get started. Kim and Heather, I'm not sure who wants to take the lead today, but maybe we could start by, on the record, having introductions.
I'm fine to jump in unless Heather, you're dying to. That's fine too.
No, go right ahead. If you want to do introductions, then we can share it, I guess.
That sounds like a great plan. Okay. Let's go ahead through and do kind of a roll call. Just one, we can test each other's microphones and make sure we can hear everybody. And two, just to see who's all here. I think the easiest way to kind of do this is go according to the images that I see on my screen, if that's okay with everybody. So as I do call your name, can you please unmute yourself and just announce and share what county you're from, just so that we know everybody that's present. And I apologize because I'm going by the names that are on things, so I might call folks the wrong name or whatever. So I apologize for that ahead of time. Okay, so the first one that I see is Tammy DeLorenzo, but she's the one that's managing the meeting, right? So she's not going to be
Correct.
Participating. Okay, I assume. Okay, and Heather, go ahead.
Hi, Heather from Washington County.
Okay, the next person I see is Belinda.
Linda, unmuted finally, Warren County.
Great, we can hear you good too. Okay, good. Michelle Burke.
Hi, Michelle Burke, Washington County.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Rob, you're next.
Rob York, Director of Community Services, Warren and Washington Counties.
Fantastic. Maureen, I see you next. You're just says iPad 2 though.
Maureen Schmidt, Warren County.
Great, thank you, Maureen. Crystal.
Hi, Crystal Lawrence, Secretary for Community Services.
Excellent, thank you. Next one I see, I think that's Carrie, right? Carrie, right? Oh, sorry.
Harry Carlson, Office of Community Services.
I'll get Harry there. Okay. And Carrie, are you there?
I am Carrie Wright, Office of Community Services.
Great, we can hear you good. Holly, you're next.
Hi, Holly Irian, Warren County.
Hi, Holly. Jim, your turn.
Jim Dexter, Warren County.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jim. Paige, Lorette.
Hi, I'm Paige. I'm the ACT team leader for Warren, Washington, and Saratoga counties.
Welcome, Paige. It's nice to meet
Thank you.
Cindy, you changed your name from Savannah. Thank you.
Yeah, I did. Hi, I'm Cindy, Warren County.
Thank you. Linda?
Linda Wright, Office of Community Services.
Okay, and then the other Linda. We need you to unmute. Make sure we can test your sound.
Linda Machad, Washington County.
Perfect. Thank you. We can hear you good. And then we have Christian.
Chris Hanchett, Warren County, Department of Social Services.
Great. Thank you. It's nice for you to join us. Amy Malloy.
Hi, Amy Malloy, Warren County.
Michelle Burke, you already did. Linda Wright, you did. Dylan Swartner.
Hey everybody, Dylan Swartner. I'm with the Warren County Public Defender's Office. I work as a case manager.
Great, nice to meet you, Dylan. Mark Lukens, BHSN.
Wow, you just said it for me. Mark Lukens, BHSN.
Sorry. That's what's on your name. Okay, and then we have Liz Cole.
Yep, Liz Cole, BHSN.
Excellent. And then last but not least, Lisa Kutu. Her microphone is not working. Okay, so we will be watching for text from there. I don't think is there anybody else in the room with you, Rob?
Yes, in the room with me, we have
Gary Murphy, Washington County. Happy New Year. Maybe a good
Happy New Year.
And
I apologize. I've got some construction going on. So Heather, I'm probably going to need to pass it to you quite a few times today. So Rob, I think we have our our county meetings.
Yes, but before that, I'll just mention that Joan Grishcott did telephone us, saying she's on her way, but she's running late. So she will be joining us here in the room shortly. Okay, well, Happy New Year, everyone. I think what we're going to do is move right into the organizational meeting for Warren County. I was mistaken about a quorum for Washington. We do not have a quorum for Washington. The Tammy DiLorenzo threw me off a little bit there. I was thinking that was Tammy DeLorme. So for Warren County, you should have a copy in your packet of the organizational meeting. And so Kim, I would ask if you could call that meeting to order.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Okay, yeah, I'd like to call the organizational meeting for Warren County for the year 2021 to order. Hopefully everybody's received the organizational meeting agenda. Right now, we don't have any election going on. We're midterm with our officers. They are myself as chair, Joan Grishcott's acting as vice chair, and Crystal Lawrence is secretary to the Community Services Board. Those terms are set to expire at the end of this year. In addition, the organizational meeting is, we need to review the fact that we have a regular meeting time, and it will be held the second Thursday of every month at 3 p.m. with the exception of August. August is the month that we take off. There are standing committee appointments that have been put out. I did not see that in the list there, Rob, that you sent out. Was it included there or was it in a separate?
Yes, it should be in the meeting packet that you received.
It is on the back page of the Washington County organizational meeting.
Oh, that's where it is. Okay, that's why I don't have it. Okay, so they've gone ahead and assigned us to different groups depending upon various aspects. And if that's something that, and this has always been the case, that if this is something that you would like to change or be in a different group, that's completely, you know, it's an opportunity if anybody is interested in changing or participating in a different group. So you just have to let us know. Let's see what else is in there. The appointment of standing committees. Any questions or discussion about those factors?
And we should take a vote on the regular meeting time.
Oh, you want to do it separately? Okay. As opposed to the whole agenda, or?
We can do it all as one, that's fine.
Is that okay too?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any discussion or questions, issues with either the standing meeting time or the committees? Or any issue with the standing officers? If there's no discussion, can I have a motion to accept both the regular meeting time as well as the standing committee assignments from anybody?
I'll make the motion. Jim Dexter.
Thank you, Jim.
I'll
Do I have a
second
second?
it. Cindy Watson.
Cindy, thank you. All in favor, can I do a show of hands? Excellent, I see it unanimous. Any opposed? Abstentions should not be, okay. Excellent, so carried for Warren County.
Okay, excellent. Then we'll have to defer Washington County's organizational meeting until we're together again. So moving on the agenda then, we move into opening the first regular joint meeting, January 14th. Kim, would you like to officially open the meeting?
I can open the meeting. I can do that.
Well, I kind of need Kim to do it. I kind of need Kim to do it just because she's got the quorum.
Okay.
I was sitting here talking to myself. I forgot I had unmuted. I would love to open the first meeting for 2021 and really hope that 2021 is a whole different year for all of us. Hopefully we'll actually see each other in person at some point this year, fingers crossed. So yeah, so we'll open the meeting for our first Community Services Board meeting for 2021. So our first item of business is approval of the minutes, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so Warren County. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to take a look at the meeting minutes. They were all the way back from October. It's been a while. Any questions, concerns, edits that need to be adjusted on the meetings that or the minutes that everyone had a chance to take a look at? Anything? Nope. Okay, if there's no issues or concerns, do I have a motion to accept the minutes? Belinda, I see raising her hand. Do I have a second? Jim, lots of seconds. Excellent. Okay. All in favor, show of hands. Any opposed? None, no. Excellent. Carried for Warren County. So last meeting minutes were accepted. Okay, Rob, what's next?
We can move into our presentations.
Fantastic. Would you do the honors of introducing?
Sure. Sure. So I'm just going to start here with Behavioral Health Services North. And I asked both Mark and Liz if they could be part of the meeting today just to provide an update. Since we have met last, they have launched their outpatient services in our counties. And very exciting to finally, cross the finish line and get the services transferred over to Behavioral Health Services North. And both Mark and Liz and their team, I just can't say enough about them and the speed with which they were able to work through the application process with the state. Remember, it's not just OMH, but OASAS. And so dealing with the two state agencies and their separate application processes. And then finally getting the services open, and I'll just let them provide us with an update on the development and launch of their services.
Thanks, Rob. Excited to be here today. We are officially up and running. We are moving into month 3 now, which doesn't really seem possible. It has been quite the journey. We have worked through transitioning a lot of clients at the same time, continuing to receive new referrals. We can tell that the need is very high, so we are anticipating and projecting to staff to that need. We have brought on about 7 clinicians and 3 nurse practitioners. We are currently still actively looking for a psychiatrist, and we have probably another 6 clinicians coming from now into the next 6 weeks. We're just waiting on some licensure processing through the state. It's a little bit backed up, so we are really working to anticipate the need continuing to grow naturally by coming in and implementing the services, but also due to COVID. So we are really actively on that. We're working with launching a few of our school-based programs as well over the next few weeks here. So we're excited about having the opportunity to do that, but really working on the staffing front. The staff have been amazing. We're really thankful for the state's support and response to us moving through this project so quickly and being able to be up and running before the end of the year. So we've got a long road ahead of us this year, but we're excited to be able to continue to look at and assess the need in the area. Rob, would you want me to just kind of speak to and present on Warrensburg Central?
Sure. I think just to introduce that, I mean, we'll hold off for a few moments till we get to the section for new business in terms of voting on it. But what BHSN is proposing is some further school-based service expansion. They've been in discussions with the Warrensburg School District, who is interested in working with BHSN in bringing them in to do the clinic services there.
Yes.
But yeah, Liz, why don't you go ahead and talk about that, but we'll vote on it a little bit later in the meeting.
Wonderful. So a few months ago, we had presented on a few school districts, one being Glens Falls Central, which we're going to be starting starting with a clinician there at the end of this month. Warrensburg since then has reached out looking for our support as their students are really struggling through the pandemic. They have a full caseload already identified and another probably 20 students that there is concern for. So we have been communicating with the superintendent on implementing services within the school district, and we're continuing to look into interview and hire based on that. So today, kind of presenting on having the opportunity to move forward in the application process to get Warrensburg a full-time clinician on site. And I'm happy to take any questions if there are any from our launch. Obviously, we're hoping to have some kind of open house in the world of COVID. That has not been possible, but at some point, hopefully we can introduce the site and the location. The building is beautiful. Our clients have really responded well to it, and so have staff. So that's been really great. We are continuing to push teleservices to protect our staff and our clientele. So many have not got to see the building yet, but hopefully this spring, summer, we'll be able to kind of start to resume a little bit more.
For board members also, you may recall that Northern Rivers at one point was providing services at the Warrensburg district. However, I think they ran into a staffing issue and weren't able to staff the position. And then, without the district having services, they then entered into some discussions with BHSN, who is able to provide the services. So they're really looking to switch the provider there.
Yes, and what we're working with the school as well as the kids who were engaged in services and who have paused to start at the clinic, getting teleservices to get them up and running again, and get that kind of that opportunity for services again. So we will hopefully start them and then we'll move them over to the school-based program once the application has gone through and staffing is present.
Liz, just a quick question. You had said that you guys were going to start looking for psychiatrists. Is that right?
Yes, we have been actively recruiting over the last 3 months. We've had a few offers. It's a tough position to fill, so we are putting a lot of resources into getting our psych in-house.
Okay, because I've had the impression that it's very difficult to get psychiatrists up in this area. So that's why I was kind of curious to know how those efforts were going.
No, it absolutely is. We are lucky to have 2 on site, but we definitely need an additional for the adult population. So we're working with some different opportunities to get that and are hopeful that that will happen over the next few months.
Kim, would it make sense to maybe reorder the agenda and go ahead and vote on this in case there are any further discussion or questions, just in case Liz or Mark were to have to leave the meeting before we actually voted?
I think that makes a lot of sense, Rob. And I would like to open, I don't know if anybody has any questions for Liz or Mark regarding, whether it be the Warrensburg thing or anything else going on with BHSN. I think it would be a good time to ask how things are going, what kind of, because I know that you guys have already started to see folks. Yes. And how is that going? What's the caseload looking like?
So yes, we started on November 9th, transitioning the clients over. There definitely are challenges to transitioning clients from pre-existing services, which fell under the hospital, into new services. But we have been moving them in as quickly as possible, as well as starting new intakes on new clients. So like I said, we're continuing to build out the staffing needs. And we've really been able to do that with the additional clinicians that have come in and that we're continuing to project that will be coming in over the next couple months. But that's a big part of it. The need is there, and we are working to move through the referrals. there's more capacity on the Center for Recoveries. So making sure that we're working with community partners to let them know we are taking, and we're really taking clients on walk-in, and we're going to be looking at building out our open access model within the CWB. So we have started that kind of informally, but we'll be building out more of a formal process probably over the next month or so.
And I think there'll be more districts that will be interested, this is Jim Dexter, will be interested in talking with you. And I also know, came up separately last week that, there's some interest of learning a little bit more how your organization is interfacing with some other organizations. So, I know some of the schools want to learn a little bit more about that. So, that will be coming up in the next month or two. So that would be great.
Yep, that's great. I'm happy to present. I know, Jim, you and I kind of spoke about that as well. I'm happy to come in and to present, to share about the services that we offer really to anyone in the community that has interest.
So does anybody have questions for Liz specific to the proposal that's on the floor right now regarding the additional work up in Warrensburg?
Again, I have a question, not necessarily for Liz, but in the past, we haven't voted on, co-located clinics or services in schools from other organizations. Why is this one different?
Because they have to submit an application to the state, and they have to receive a letter of support from myself. So that's the reason I brought it for a vote.
Okay. Okay. And the application is because it's a new site. There wasn't anything there before.
Correct.
Yes, because it's a new satellite site for BHSN. It's part of the application process is to get a letter from community service and from Rob.
Okay, thank you.
Great question, Amy. Anybody else have any questions regarding this proposal? I don't see any or hear any. So do I have anybody from Warren County who's willing to make a motion to accept the proposal? Cindy, I have a second. A couple seconds there. Crystal, I don't know who we want to take, Amy, Maureen. Whoever. Okay, so for Warren County, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I believe it's unanimous. Are there any objections? I don't see any abstentions. I don't think anyone has any interest. Okay, great. Then motion is carried from Warren County.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Rob, I think the next presentation is Carrie, correct?
It is, and thank you, Liz, for that update, and look forward to seeing the development of those additional services. So also then on the agenda, we have Carrie Wright is program analyst in our office, has been working on Criminal Justice and Community Services Task Force, working closely with Allison Reynolds from the Council for Prevention. They co-chair the task force. And there's been a lot of activity with that group over the last year or so. And so I thought it would be a good idea if maybe Carrie could give the boards some overview of some of the activities and discussion and progress that that group has been having. So I'm going to try to pull up a PowerPoint. Are folks able to see the PowerPoint?
Yep.
Yes.
Just came up, Rob.
And so Carrie, if you could just cue me as to when to advance the slides.
Yeah, sure. So I can just go over this PowerPoint. Some of you may have already seen it at our mental health and substance use subcommittee. So if you have, I apologize for the repeat, but just to go over how it all began, this group sort of came about after the sequential intercept mapping workshop that we held in the fall of 2017. That was both counties, public defenders, criminal justice system, probation, local community providers in mental health and substance use. And it really looks at gaps in services, particular intercepts, as you can see based on the diagram on, where we're lacking in programming. You can go ahead and advance it, Rob. So the whole purpose of the mapping was that meaningful cross-systems collaboration to really help folks that are cycling in and out of the criminal justice system that have mental health and substance use concerns. The main points are to help with a warm handoff, the appropriate delivery of services, like I said, assist in identifying gaps and optimizing the local resources that we already have. You can go ahead, Rob. And from that group, there was, probably, I can't even remember, but a good number of participants, but we all sort of voted on the priorities for change with the assistance of the workshop facilitators. And these were sort of the main highlights from that workshop: enhancing transitional success and reentry, increasing access to mental health providers and the services to decrease wait times, enhancing crisis law enforcement partnerships. So that really has set us up nicely to help with some of the police reform, really allowed us to develop some of those relationships, which, we're really in a unique opportunity to help now. Enhancing peer support services across all the intercepts, increasing evidence-based programming in jails. We're working on that now. You can go ahead, Rob. Improving communication and planning among stakeholders. That's always an ongoing, a point of having these larger meetings. Increasing housing and transportation, developing certain mental health hub courts and specialty courts. Data collection and integration. That's one of the areas that I think we still really struggle with. Still a lot of silos in all our different, program areas, including law enforcement, criminal justice. That's still a really tough to do. And expanding the continuum of care for substance use. And they also highlighted inpatient detox, which is, we still need to develop as well. You can go ahead. And so in the fall of 2018, we came together with AMH at that time to collaborate and bring this criminal justice, law enforcement, and some of our community providers to focus on those priorities that I just went over from the sequential intercept mapping. And over the past 2 years, we've now transformed and then merged with Hometown versus Heroin Coalition. They were starting to have more sparse attendance with that group, and we were seeing many of the same stakeholders at both those meetings. It really made sense to expand the Hometown versus Heroin mission to, substance use in general, and also include the mental health. So we partnered together. You can go ahead. And our current mission from this larger group is community stakeholders. We're collaborating to identify priorities, gaps, and resources to support individuals with mental health, substance use, and co-occurring disorders by bringing together partnerships across our community. We have monthly meetings. They're held via Zoom right now, as everything is. And we typically have 25 to 45 stakeholders that participate. So it's really grown pretty quickly, and especially now we are really excited to see people come back after sort of a hiatus. When COVID first hit us, we weren't able to do a whole lot initially, but we seem to be back up and running now, so that's encouraging. You can go ahead. And the structure is that we have 4 work groups that meet outside of those monthly meetings. We have an education group, criminal justice and jail group, recovery and mental health, and more of a clinical treatment group. You can go ahead. Our goals currently right now, we're still developing and working on those. They're always changing as we ebb and flow, but sustained education and media attention. We're really focusing on making sure we get out continued press releases, working with Don Lehman through Warren County. Any kind of information we may get from those larger meetings through, different agencies, probation, trends that they may be seeing that not all of us are aware of. I know Mike Gray just brought up that crystal meth is making a resurgence again, so they were going to do some media attention on that and include this group in that as well. So really making sure that we do that on a more regular basis. Some harm reduction philosophy, just education and awareness that all pathways lead to recovery. More of a social media presence, looking at restorative justice strategies, which also fits in nicely with some of the police reform committees that our office has been involved in, and just collaborating in new strategies for law enforcement and mental health. They've, are really looking to us to help with the mental health component of things. That seems to be one of their major focuses right now with the priorities in the police reform. You can go ahead. Also patient engagement through that larger group, making sure we're all aware of available resources and the referral processes, especially as things, close and reopen. It's been really tough to keep track of who's providing what. So this has allowed a large group to make sure that we're all informed on, how we can help members of our community that may be more vulnerable. Supporting youth impacted by family criminal justice involvement, and assessing the community needs through our collaborations. Go ahead. Other outcomes were the development of ABLE, which I think a lot of you are familiar with, which is the reentry program, which is now housed and has been through Baywood. It assists individuals that are reentering our community from incarceration in local jails. Amanda Zeno has been providing those services throughout the pandemic. And it's just been a program that's really grown. She's developed a lot of great relationships with the sheriff's department. So we're thrilled to still have her, and that Baywood decided to keep that position. We've also been involved in conducting 2 of the crisis intervention trainings for public safety professionals and law enforcement, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of that. You can go ahead. Ongoing discussion and exploration of LEAD. That's the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program. So I know Glens Falls PD has been looking at that. We've had several conversations with them, and they may be exploring it in their own way, but they're open to looking at that program and are very interested, as are some of the other police forces. But it makes sense to start with a smaller pilot program in a more populated area like Glens Falls, and also working with local law enforcement and emergency responders on, we need to figure out a community response to the increases in overdoses. We have the OD map platform, which is free for law enforcement to utilize and put in overdose information. However, we need to have some sort of community response or a meeting, possibly as a work group from this larger group, to determine how and who would send out if there were a spike that we were seeing in the trends and data. So we're looking to work with the folks that oversee OD map on that as well. You can go ahead. And also exploring, like I said, better law enforcement and mental health responses. Law enforcement has made that clear that they're not the experts, and we're really tasking or asking them to do a job that they haven't been trained for. So there are some models like LEMERS, it's called the Law Enforcement Mental Health Referral System. It is not a crisis response, but it is a collaboration between mental health and law enforcement in Essex County that allows patrol officers to refer individuals for services if it's not, requiring a mental health or hygiene pickup. So if anyone's interested in that, I have more information or webinars that we can certainly send out. You can go ahead. And where we're headed as a group, like I said, police reforms created a really unique platform for some genuine, authentic work around some of the disparities in our criminal justice and public safety systems. Addressing social determinants of health and more of that education will help communities realize how trauma can often lead folks down paths that may be less than favorable, addiction and mental health. and an education around harm reduction and the narrative of us versus them, how that really hinders our progress for treatment and care, and is a pretty antiquated way to look at how folks receive services. You can go ahead. Excuse me. And just to encourage, I mean, any of you or any folks that wanted to participate in and contribute to the local police reform surveys or feedback, I've included those links for Warren County and Washington County. I believe Glens Falls PD closed their survey already, but I'm sure they're open to any feedback. If you're hearing things or know of things from clients that you serve or particular concerns that come up, they're very open to receiving that. So I just wanted to include that in there. Go ahead. And I just added some of these. That's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration survey showing that only 11% of individuals that needed treatment received it. So of the other 89%, nearly 96% said they didn't need treatment. And by treatment, we're referring to traditional clinical kind of treatment. So abstinence-based treatments are not reaching the vast majority of people with substance use disorders. Go ahead. So we really want to focus as a larger group on that continued dialogue and narrative shift from abstinence-based to all pathways lead to recovery. And I had found this quote about sort of a new definition of recovery, that the essence of recovery is a lived experience of improved life quality and a sense of empowerment, that the principles of recovery focus on the central ideas of hope, choice, freedom, and aspiration that are experienced rather than diagnosed, and occur in real life settings rather than in the rarefied atmosphere of clinical settings. Recovery is a process rather than an end state, with the goal being an ongoing quest for a better life. So that's a huge shift in how we deliver services, how we view people with substance use issues. That, like I said, that us versus them really needs to go, and we need to see that there are multiple ways that people can get to recovery, and recovery needs to be defined by the person that's in recovery, not top down. You can go ahead. And just lastly, I just included a slide. I don't know if some of you know Simon Sinek, but he's got a lot of great work, and he just states that unhealthy cultures create addiction and healthy cultures create social bonds. So particularly right now in a pandemic, with addiction being really exacerbated by isolation, I think it's really, really important that we all consider, our own views and biases and how we can shift that narrative and help folks out the best we can in these, really trying times. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And if anyone has questions or wants any additional information, certainly let us know, and I can, get you details on any of the particular things that we highlighted or are focusing on.
Anyone have any questions or feedback for Carrie?
I just want to say thank you to Carrie, because I think she is like spearheading this and continues to move this forward despite all of the issues that have come up and all of the, the barriers have been put in place in terms of kind of moving anything forward with the pandemic and stuff. You've got great determination, and I really, really respect that. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, excellent job and a great presentation. And I love the us versus them. Oh, God bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. It was really well done. Good information and nice presentation.
Excellent.
Yep, Carrie has done a great job with the group, and so thank you as well from me, Carrie.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's definitely time that we have a great opportunity to really reframe how we look at things. So it's sad it had to come this way, but it's often how change happens. So thank you all. I really appreciate it.
It's a really broad, stakeholder group, and so it's a challenge sometimes to keep everybody together and on the same page, especially during COVID and having meetings virtually and everything. So Hasn't been easy, but Carrie's done a great job with it. Okay, we also wanted to mention about the police reform and reinvention collaboratives. Some of that you heard a little bit about from Carrie. In June of 2020, Governor Cuomo signed an executive order requiring all law enforcement agencies in the state to engage in this process of reform, looking at their policies. They issued a guidance document requiring them to develop these cross section of the community collaboratives that would meet and review their policies, gather input from the public, and put together a report to the state that has to be submitted by April 1st of this year. Our office has been asked to participate in several of the collaboratives. We're working with the Warren County Sheriffs, Washington County Sheriffs, Glens Falls Police Department, Hudson Falls Police Department, myself, Linda Wright, Carrie, are all sitting on various groups like this. One of the areas of focus in the guidance is specific to mental health and police response related to mental health issues and substance abuse issues. Some of the recommendations that we've been discussing include the LEMERS that Carrie mentioned, is the law enforcement mental health referral system. That's an online form that an officer can fill out on the scene. It just takes a moment. It's the contact information of the individual they're encountering, and it goes securely as an email, a secured email to the mental health system. And so it's an rather immediate alert to the system that they've encountered an individual, and then that's an opportunity for the system to then engage in outreach. One of the other recommendations is looking at possible 911 diversion of calls that are mental health related, that are not true, life-threatening emergencies, but maybe people in mental health crisis or a mental health related call that's not a life or death type of situation, and diverting those directly to mobile crisis rather than a call to deploying law enforcement. Also, recommendation for the CIT training, the crisis intervention team training for officers. That's the intensive week-long training. And so we're trying to continue support for that. We would like to continue to offer that in support of law enforcement. Also, the LEAD program, which Carrie talked about, that's a pre-arrest diversion program. We have some other diversion programs, but they are post-arrest. And so we would like to see the LEAD developed as a pilot. Carrie also mentioned Glens Falls Police in particular are looking at hiring a social worker that could be part of the police department. Also the OD mapping that Carrie talked about. And the task force is also developing resource cards for law enforcement. It's like a pocket card that they can hand out to individuals. So that's also something it's been done previously, but actually they're in the process of refreshing it, updating it, and redistributing it. Also, as Carrie mentioned, all these, the various departments are soliciting input. So if anybody in particular is interested in, providing direct input, you can find opportunity to do that through the links that we are sharing in the PowerPoint. Does anybody have any questions about the police reform? and our role in it. You know, they're looking at much broader issues as well. I mean, racial disparities and transparency for police, but mental health was one aspect of their what they're looking at. Okay, if hearing no comments or other discussion on that, then we'll move on to the rest of our new business. Kim, do you want me to just go ahead and launch in?
Please do, Rob.
Okay, so the other item of new business was a 2021 budget and contract amendment for Warren County. This is related to the Addictions Care Center of Albany. The New York State Office of Addiction Supports and Services has informed us that there is an additional $194,559 available to the Addictions Care Center of Albany to support the residential rehabilitation services in Warren County. This is specifically for the women's residents on Glenwood Avenue. So what we would like to do is amend the budget and contract for ACCA to allow for pass-through of this funding.
I think that sounds like a no-brainer. Any questions about the money or anything, you know, I don't know, any questions, guys, from Warren County? Do I have anybody make a motion to accept the pass-through? Belinda and Cindy is a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions? Okay, great. Unanimous, Warren County.
All right, thank you, everyone. All right, then we had some informational items. We did want to provide just a little bit of information about the COVID-19 vaccinations and how that's going with our agencies and the clientele that have been eligible. The state is doing it in a phased rollout. I think everyone's probably aware of that. The initial phase, the 1A, included our congregate care facilities and residents. And then later in phase 1A, it also included client-facing outpatient and you know, frontline type of workers. So our case managers are now eligible, outpatient client-facing practitioners, you know, anyone in the clinics, whether it be reception or anyone that has client-facing has been eligible. We had fairly good opportunities for our agencies to access those initially. When we were doing the congregate care, the first part of it, it seemed like people were more or less able to access it through links that the state was sending out. You had to, through the links, you could schedule appointments. I did get some feedback from the agencies that some of the residents of the facilities were resistant to getting the vaccine. And so our agencies have been working on educational efforts to provide educational materials to any staff or residents that have been resistant. Any questions on that at this point?
Rob, I can remember, you know, in the old days at Eastside, we would have public health come in every year. Well, we had them come in weekly, but we would have them come in, you know, every fall to do the flu vaccines, and people would line up. I mean, it was like, because they came to us and they knew the nurse and all of that. So have they thought about, or is there any way that public health could go to the residences? Because I think people were much more willing to get the shots back then.
I will provide that feedback to them. I don't think they were doing that. Warren County did open up a weekend clinic specifically for our priority populations. And it was well attended, but they held it at the municipal center. But I'll provide that feedback. Initially, most of the vaccine was rolling out through the hospital and Hudson Headwaters.
Right.
But
Okay.
public health is becoming more involved in the distribution.
Okay, good.
Okay, then we also have our 2021 CSB member Code of Ethics forms. If folks remember, each year we ask board members to fill out this form. It's a two-sided form. So we'll be sending that out via email and maybe part of the packet that you received. If not, it's an attachment, a separate attachment. There's two sides to it. The first side is just signing off on the Code of Ethics for board members, and the second side is a disclosure of any conflicts of interest. So I think we're asking people, if you're able to print it, scan it, and email it back to Crystal, that would be one way. If folks don't have access to printing and scanning and that sort of thing, you could print it and sign and mail it back. If you need us to mail you a copy, we can do that. Just communicate what you need to directly to Crystal. Okay, we also had on the agenda, wanted to talk a little bit about, there was the first quarter 2021, there's still a 20% withhold on funds, state aid funds to our agencies, with some exception for residential services. But I did send out a second email this afternoon, a separate email with an attachment that had an Excel spreadsheet that Harry put together for us. I'm not sure if people were able to see that. It came shortly before the meeting started, so you probably might not have noticed it. But you do have that in your email. Harry, anything you want to say about the withholds?
No, it's pretty straightforward. Like you said, the residential programs, on the alcoholism side, it was ACCA. The residential program was waived, any kind of holdback on them or withhold. And the only thing they had was against their jail program. And then in AMH, they have three funding sources that supply funds to their residential programs, and all those were waived as far as any kind of withhold or holdback, whatever you want to call it. So we're hoping this is it, but who knows?
Yeah, this will be the third quarter, correct? In a row.
This will be the third time, yeah, the third quarter we had a withhold, yeah. So it's quite a bit of money.
Quite a bit of money. Most of the agencies have been able to access the PPP loans, and that they have said that has in large part offset the withhold. So that's been helpful for them.
And hopefully that federal relief will be coming soon.
Yeah, the changes in
we have a new
Washington.
sheriff in town. You know?
Maybe more opportunity now, or more of a will for relief to state and local government.
Yeah, that would be good.
Thank you, Harry.
Yep.
Any questions or discussion on the withholds? And then I was just hoping maybe to have a little bit of discussion. If anybody has any thoughts about our agenda planning for the year. We're looking at probably continuing the meetings via Zoom for the better part of the year anyway. Are there any particular agencies, programs you might like to hear presentations from?
Rob, I was wondering, given what's going on with the withholds and everything that's going on with the pandemic, and I know things are possibly going to change over the next couple months, but would it be worthwhile to get all of our agencies in one or two during a meeting just to hear where they are, what's going on, so that we don't wait until like the budgeting in the summertime and kind of hear what's happening? I would, I think that would be useful to hear what they're doing and how they're coping. I don't know how everyone else feels, but that's my thought.
I think that sounds like a great idea. Just to know.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that.
I'd also like to hear about the new housing stuff that's going in too, because there's a lot of big building going on. So that'd be kind of cool to hear about too.
And so Kim, I think you're referring to the project on Cooper Street probably, right? The Association for Mental Health, yeah. So we can schedule them in, have them present. Okay, well, if folks are thinking of anything in particular, or if you think of something later, you feel free to shoot me an email and just say, hey, Rob, how about we hear about this program or bring this agency in? So always open to ideas for planning the agenda.
We want to thank you, Rob, for all the effort that you do to kind of pull all this together and keep us informed the way you do.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Great job.
All right. So also in your meeting packet, then you should have a copy of the schedule of meetings for 2021. This includes both all of our community services board meetings. We meet each month except August, I'm sorry. And then this also includes our subcommittee meetings for our mental health and addiction recovery subcommittees have been meeting jointly. The developmental disabilities subcommittee and our children and families subcommittee. So you should have access to all those meetings. We've never used the calendar invites, but we might start experimenting with that a little bit to see if that's helpful for folks. I know it helps me a lot of times to get the calendar invite and I get it in my schedule right away, if I can reply to it. Also in the packet includes a dual recovery calendar of meetings, and this is just informational. This was sent out by the Association for Mental Health. Okay, I think, Kim, that's really all I had.
Okay, well, fantastic. Thank you again, Rob, for all the effort that you do make in getting all this stuff pulled together and keeping us informed, as well as organizing all the meetings and all the other kind of nightmare that runs behind it. Are there any other questions, points of discussion, any new business, anything anybody else wants to bring up before we bring the meeting to a close? Jim's shaking his head vigorously. Anybody else? Excellent. Well, then in that case, I know we don't have to make any motions to close the meeting, but Happy New Year to everybody. It was lovely to see you all. And I will declare this first meeting of the Community Services Board for the year 2021 closed. Thank you all for joining us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you again on
Thanks,
February
everybody.
11th.
Good to
Okay.
see everybody.